Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome here if you're new. So I'm sure as many of you guys know who watch my channel, I get up here and I talk about my experience of changing religion, changing my lifestyle, why it was not a good decision, and just try to give a cautionary tale to anyone else out there who might be thinking of doing the same, maybe to give some information to people who already done it, and just for other people who are interested in this topic to watch along. So today I want to talk about when you change religion, especially one to Islam, why you need to be really, really aware and mindful and cautious of the fact that not only are you changing faith, like spiritually, but you are also going to enter into a new culture, most likely. The reason I'm saying this, basically, there are many people out there like me who grew up in, let's just say, a kind of very left-leaning world, especially in the West. We were taught that even though there are different cultures, essentially we're all the same. And really the image they painted of the world was like all humans sitting around holding hands, lovey-dovey, that kind of situation. And I fell for that. I really believed that even though we speak different languages, we have different food. Essentially, we all have the same, I guess, goals and aspirations, right? And I could not have been more wrong in that case. And reality hit me hard when it hit me. And as I said, I know I'm not the only one. I know there are many others like me who grew up in the world that I grew up in, which, as I said, promoted multiculturalism, promoted all of these like ideas and kind of ideologies which are very like globalistic. And this is not me saying people cannot mix, people cannot, no, that's not what I'm saying at all. Like, I'm talking about how people hold different values, how people have different expectations of women, how people view animals differently, how people have different goals about what's the purpose of life. I don't know why this was controversial to say. I think now it's getting a bit more accepted in the kind of collective consciousness, but there are cultures that don't really care about women's dreams and aspirations. There are people who have different views on the world. And when you sign up for a religion like Islam, which is very, very dominant, unapologetic, and the people who follow it, observant Muslims, also are encouraged to be unapologetic about their faith. They are encouraged to promote their faith, to always feel like they have the truth, they are the right ones. They're not going to change their worldview to suit humans. They're going to stick to what is in their holy book and in the hadiths and so on and so forth. And they're going to listen to their scholars before they listen to anyone else. You have to bear that in mind. So you're going to enter into a faith where you have naturally just got your own beliefs about the world, which you've picked up from being a person from a culture like the UK or wherever. And a lot of those cultures and a lot of those values are going to have to change. You can try and hold on to them, but you will have internal resistance and you'll feel resistance as well from, from the people around you. And that can be really, really hard to deal with. It can be really hard to deal with, especially when it comes to, let's just say, if you're a woman who wanted a high flying career and isn't really interested in marriage, isn't really interested in starting a family, you're going to be met with resistance, as I said, and that's going to be really hard to deal with. At first, you probably convince yourself, oh, I can do this. But over time, it starts to get really hard to give up that kind of individualistic mindset and accept that your role is different. You have a different role, you have different expectations. That can be really, really hard to deal with. And like in my case, it can actually alter the like trajectory of your life as well. In Islam, obviously, like marriage is half of your deen. It's really important. You will be encouraged to get married quickly. You'll be encouraged to have children These are the values that are really, really important. And you have to be prepared to let go of things that were once important to you. And it's other things as well, which you don't really think about till you're actually in that situation. But I guess we all go through times when, you do sit there and wonder, what am I doing here? What's the purpose of life? And so on and so forth. It's quite nice to actually have a degree of freedom where you can say, oh, I know my purpose in life is doing charity or even being the best person I can be, acquiring as much knowledge as I can, all of these things, which I think are perfectly valid. Whatever you feel like your purpose on this planet is, I think that's individual to you. But once you enter this faith, those kind of thoughts are going to have to go out the window because even things like your purpose in life are given to you. Your purpose in life is to worship God. That's it. And leading on from that, you know, you're here to worship God and you're also here to avoid going to hellfire. Do you want to get to heaven? And even if you want to know what's up there as a woman, you don't know, that can lead to you feeling like so many things you kind of strive for here on earth to do in this lifetime, they kind of lose a lot of value, or at least in my case, that explanation made me feel like there isn't much point like getting too involved in like a date in life in that way. For me, it made me feel a bit apathetic towards things like traveling or, as I said, um, laying down roots in other ways, or really taking part in other activities because none of it doesn't mean anything. Only if the things you do which are pleasing to God and which are going to get you to heaven, those are the important things. And again, that spills over into things like birthdays. Like celebrating your birthday isn't actually admirable because you're celebrating being on this planet another year when really this is not your true home. Like I said, it's not just a spiritual swap, it's a cultural swap. You're essentially changing your way of thinking, your understanding of reality itself. And that can be really tricky, as I said. It can be really, really hard. Even though I did used to find comfort in thinking that God was all powerful and that he had my back no matter what, and that I was on the right path, and that it doesn't matter what happens because God has willed everything at the end of the day. Everything is already written. But then I was so miserable because of the way everything I was doing no longer actually aligned with how I felt about my life. I really became just so like I just stopped feeling anything really. Yeah, there was just no motivation anymore for anything. Some might argue that, you are supposed to essentially give up that kind of human wants and needs and swap it all for just serving Allah and keeping God happy and doing everything for the sake of Allah. But really, when I was brutally honest, but that was a very, very miserable feeling, very sad, very lonely. And especially when you can see everyone around you, if you live somewhere like London, even where there are a lot of Muslims around you, you still see other people and you're like, they're not doing anything wrong by enjoying their life. And why do they look so happy? Why are they successful in other areas if this is so bad what they're doing? It starts to become like a daily struggle of constantly fighting against, am I doing the right thing? Fighting against the feeling that this doesn't feel good, this doesn't feel right. That's why I say this is an extremely difficult thing to do. It is not easy to change your whole life, especially when you've grown up in one way. Because I do believe Islam is it's really the only thing I can think of which is so different to the West. Like the only really alternative to the Western way of life, because so many countries now around the world, kind of follow a similar kind of Western model of living. Islam is completely different. And it's not just different, in theory. The thing about Islam is it is practical as well. As I always say, Islam is not just spirituality, it's the real life implication. It's not the same as just praying from God to Allah or facing the Kaaba when you pray and these things. It's not just the ritual. Things like the cultural differences, the difference in values, that's going to be a shock to your system. As I said, I can't speak for everyone. Some people might like that, they might enjoy it. But once real life starts to kick in, these are the really hard things you have to deal with. And as always, I just want to share my experience as a cautionary tale and something to reflect on. Because I didn't reflect on these things, and I really wish I did when I had the chance. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this. I really appreciate it. I appreciate everyone who comments, watches, likes, and also please subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. I go live on my channel as well. Yeah, and I try my hardest as well to kind of speak about everything like holistically to do with this topic and the UK and beyond and everything. So if you're interested in that, as I said, please subscribe to the channel so you can be notified and watch more videos like this. Yeah, guys, so thank you so much for watching. I will see you all again in the next video, and I wish everyone the absolute best. Thank you so much.